Hey Sam,
Yes?
you know how you're really shit at picking up women?
Of course, terrible.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Luckily, there's a simulator coming out very soon called Super Seducer, which is a game that allows you to practice your pickup skills.
You wish.
Now, we're going
It's
to
not
be
the first one, is it? Like, there's been a lot of other video games, that, like a lot of pickup games.
probably only Japanese anime style ones
Okay.
that, like, aren't allowed to even be on Steam. But anyway, we're going to play that game tomorrow.
So tune in tomorrow, guys.
But the reason that we're playing that game is because when you do something in a video game, it's exactly the same as doing it in real life.
Of course.
So if you practice picking up chicks in a video game, you're gonna basically be a fucking stud muffin,
100.
just killing it
100%.
in the clubs.
It's
okay?
like if you play Viva Pinata, then you're going to know how to attract animals into a garden. Of course. Nah?
Okay, so anyway, today we're talking about virtual reality and how it doesn't make you a mass shooter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Many times already we have spoken about how politicians love to use the games industry as a bit of a scapegoat for what's going wrong in the world at the moment. With this idea has popped up many times over the decades. Ever since video games were a thing, they have been scapegoated, or escapegoated, as my friend here would say.
Escaped.
That's right, escapegoated. but it's a common trend, right? So what's happened this time though is that it seems that academia is actually jumping on the same bandwagon.
The guy in question that we're talking about is Jeremy Ballinson. Now, he's a kind of a VR expert. He is the founding director of the Virtual Human Interaction Lab, and he is a professor at Stanford University.
And just to pause, like, that's a pretty big deal. Like, this guy is a credentialed individual. He's a professor at Stanford.
He knows his shit.
He's a highly educated guy. This is not like my mother writing an article about how video games are dangerous.
Mum plays video games all the time. Hello.
She plays Candy Crush, actually.
Yes,
That's
she does.
true. She actually loves that shit. Now, Jeremy's article appears in the CNN opinion section. Now, everyone loves CNN, obviously. And
Yes.
they've done themselves huge favors by running this article because gamers just, they love this article.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Every time CNN or one of these publications do a story on video games, it always has this sense of like, God, they are so detached from
Yeah.
video games. My God.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
The headline, it says it all. If a possible mass shooter wants to hone his craft, by the way, as in like mass shooting is a craft, like woodwork or sculpture, you know? If he wants to hone his craft, don't hand him a virtual boot camp. Now, the rest of this article, if you thought the headline was the worst part, you're in for a real treat, because this is unquestionably the worst article I've ever read talking about the link between violence
It's
and video
almost
games.
as bad as like Polygon articles, guys.
It is. It's up there. It really is.
100% up there.
Well, what do you think?
This is a joke, right? I mean, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read.
I had to check this article 3 times to see if it was an Onion article, because I couldn't believe it when I was reading it, okay? This guy, first of all, starts by opening talking about, you know, video games have one mandate to be fun, but companies that create and market them must be socially and morally aware. They must consider the kinds of experiences they are developing, especially in first-person shooter games. Okay, interesting. Why first-person shooter games especially?
Why, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I
Not
mean, of course
sure.
they're trying to attach to the mass shooter, but like,
Is it different? Is the experience different if it's in first person versus Mortal Kombat in third person?
that's true.
Mortal
Or
Kombat's
Division in third person, is there a difference there?
This
You know?
guy actually, just in this sentence, he's basically saying GTA, killing hookers in GTA is fine, because actually a third person game.
That's
but
true.
not in GTA 5 with the mod that has the first person mod.
Oh,
that changes
that's
everything.
Not good. No way.
That's ridiculous.
100%.
Totally.
Now, he goes on to say that there was at least one documented case of a killer using first-person shooter games to improve his combat skills. His name was Anders Breivik. He was a Norwegian shooter. Now, when they say documented case, it's pretty much him sitting in a room saying, yeah, I played video games, and they're like, oh my god, shit, he plays video games, that must be the reason.
Make sure you write that down. It'd be like if he said, oh, I watched Taken, that movie
Yes.
Taken. I watched it all the time.
Exactly right.
And
Or I watched
that's where
Godfather.
that's
or
where I
something.
learned how to kick ass, right?
Yes.
Everyone be like, Taken is evil.
Yes.
Make sure we have one documented case of the movie Taken. Jeremy goes on, And he says this. Brevik played a two-dimensional game, but virtual reality can take skill acquisition to a new level. Players can look all around the scene instead of just staring at a screen. Handheld devices vibrate to simulate touch. Sam knows about those.
Oh, yeah.
Most importantly, players use their arms and body to engage in actual combat moves instead of just hitting buttons. As a result, the brain's motor systems is engaged. Repeated movement while in virtual reality causes changes in brain structure, which in turn improves the performance in real world. In other words, virtual reality is the ultimate training machine.
Like, okay, the truth is, if someone was to ask me, do you think that you're a better driver from playing Gran Turismo? I mean, you maybe can say that you have a rough sense of, like...
The only thing I would say is that I know when I want to take a corner quickly, I go from the outside across the in and then back to the outside.
And then you just hug against all those cars, you know?
And I ram other cars to be able to get first place.
Yes, we've all done that before in Gran Turismo. But
there's no collision.
Look, I mean, you know, I don't think for a moment that just because you're able to play a game that has a gun and you might get familiar in the mechanics of that video game, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make sure that you can, you know... I wouldn't even know how to turn the safety off. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
I think that if you handed me a gun, there'd be more chance that I'd shoot myself in the arse than I would shoot another human being.
Ow!
Like, honestly, I feel that would be the case. You could hand me the gun and the magazine, and I'd be like, what do I do with these? What does this one do?
I wouldn't know how to load it.
Is this the gun? Like, fucking hell, I've no idea.
X to reload.
Totally.
Come on, what's going on
That's
here?
right. But it gets better. And we're getting to the really good stuff here, okay, right? This is the really good stuff. He basically is saying that because it's the ultimate training machine, right? We need to then do things in virtual reality games to make them less ultimate training machine, okay? And the way he suggests this is that he suggests that bullets in virtual reality games, you shouldn't aim them at the target, you should aim them to the left or the right of the target. And the bullet should bend towards the target. So in that way...
We know a movie that does this, people.
That's right. Right? He cocopied this idea from that Wanted movie or whatever it is.
Double kill, triple kill, quadruple kill, quintuple kill, sextuple kill.
So,
it's
you
copyright.
know, when they talk about mass shootings and shit, why aren't they talking about the Wanted movie?
Totally.
Okay? Because that's
Totally.
also, you know, it's doing a disservice to people because they see that they can spin bullets.
That's right. Seriously, imagine saying this. Imagine saying that we're going to make people shoot the other thing into thin air, and it's going to make them a less effective mass shooter in real life. That's what the world's fucking come to.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like they're clutching at straws so much that they're looking at these ways in terms of to minimize the effectiveness of a mass shooting.
it's like
It's just looking at the wrong stuff, people. This is what we keep coming back to when we're talking about video games and violence. It's just looking at the wrong stuff.
And even if you are looking at the right stuff, the suggestions are beyond absurd. It's like saying, when watching Taken, the ultimate killing simulator movie, make sure you don't look directly at the screen.
Yeah.
Look to the left of the screen. Because if you watch the screen, you become Liam Neeson and just kill everyone.
I agree with that. I agree. I was wondering,
sense.
because when Taken came out, I was wondering why all these people were getting kidnapped just out of the cinema. Well, we know now. We know now.
Exactly. The other idea is that he suggests that in virtual reality games, you should never be allowed to shoot humans. Only robots. Okay? And robots can fly, and it's important that whatever we shoot should also be flying.
Okay.
So in one instance, he's saying, let's make sure people have shitty aim, okay? By making them shoot somewhere else. But then he's like, let's also make sure they're flying in the air. Because that's
true.
way easier to hit that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's much easier
Yeah.
to hit a flying target.
So we can only make Terminator games.
That's right, and Duck Hunt.
Yes, and that is it. All right?
Seriously.
A mechanical duck hunt. They have to
Mechanical-
be robot ducks.
Totally.
That is it. Like, oh my god.
So this is what we've come to now in 2018. We are so unwilling to actually talk about real problems that we'd rather talk about how video games have caused them all. And the solution to that is to make sure that when we play virtual reality games, we're shooting mechanical robot ducks.
Flying? Well, ducks fly.
And we're not shooting
but
at them, we're shooting to the left or the
we're
right
shooting,
of them.
and if you're watching a movie, as I said, always don't look at the screen. Look left. Just listen to it, and you won't become a kidnapper.
I mean, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read.